Today we're diving into a really strange but powerful parable. It's a story about a teacher, this jester, whose final lesson is a command for his followers to destroy him. It's a journey that really makes you ask, what does it truly mean to be the one and only author of your own life?
And boom, right out of the gate, we're hit with this shocking, totally paradoxical command. This is the very core of the whole parable, and it's not just a suggestion, it's called the greatest commandment. So what in the world could it mean to slay the teacher you admire right inside your own heart? Let's unpack the jester's final lesson.
So the story opens at the edge of the greatest stillness. Picture that. And here, our teacher, the jester, does something incredibly dramatic. He takes out a golden knife and just shatters his own reflection in a mountain pool. Now, this isn't just random destruction, it's a huge symbolic act. It's a lesson that isn't taught with words, but with the sound of breaking glass. And the jester explains why he did it. He says that as long as his companions are looking to him for answers, they're stuck in what the parable calls the camel spirit. And if you know your Nietzsche, you'll recognize this immediately. The camel is the spirit that kneels down, accepts the heaviest burdens, and just carries the weight of someone else's wisdom. But the goal, the jester says, isn't to be a beast of burden. It's to create, to become the very source of your own law.
Okay, so this slaying of the teacher, it's not literal, of course. It's a psychological metaphor, and it's got deep roots in Jungian psychology for something called shadow integration. It's all about taking back the power and authority we tend to project onto other people, our mentors, our gods, our ideologies, and pulling all of that back into ourselves. It's that moment you stop looking for a master on the outside because you finally realize the master is within.
And you have to ask, why do we do that in the first place? Well, the parable suggests it's a shield, a psychological shield. It protects us from this terrifying, totally overwhelming responsibility that comes with our own power and freedom. Let's be honest, it's so much easier to follow a map someone else drew than to try and navigate the huge, uncharted wilderness of your own potential.
But by shattering that shield, by breaking that mirror, the jester forces his companions to face what comes next. And this kicks off the second part of their journey, confronting the absolutely terrifying responsibility of total freedom.
Just try to imagine that feeling for a second. The guide is gone. Suddenly, there's no one there to tell you what to do, what's right, or what's wrong. The training wheels are officially off, and you're just left alone in this vast, undefined landscape where you and only you can draw the map.
You're now face to face with what the text calls the Dionysian chaos of existence. The raw, untamed, wild nature of reality itself. In Greek thought, Dionysus was all about that wildness, that passion and creativity. Without a master to sort of filter it for you, you have to face that chaos head on, and it's got to be both terrifying and absolutely exhilarating.
And this is where your whole perspective on your own inner darkness, your shadow, completely flips. It stops being this enemy you have to control using someone else's rules, or something you have to push down out of shame. Instead, it becomes a collaborator, a co-author in the story that you are now writing for yourself. This just brilliantly shows the jester's contempt for people who just follow. He calls them apes of Zarathustra. Zarathustra, in Nietzsche's work, was the prophet who preached about the overman, this self-mastered creator. The apes are the ones who just mimic the teacher's words. They can copy the lion's roar, but they don't have the heart of a lion. The goal isn't to be a great student, it's to graduate completely and become the prophet of your own inner sun.
So really, when you boil it all down, the commandment to slay the jester is a hammer. Its whole purpose is to smash the last, and maybe the most dangerous idol of all, the idea that there's a perfect guide out there. It's insisting that you have to destroy every external pillar of support just to find out if you can actually stand on your own.
But then, out of all this destruction and terror, something new starts to grow. This is the real turning point, where that faint echo of the teacher's voice begins to transform into the companion's own sovereign laughter.
In that one moment, as the shards of the mirror settle in the water, the companions feel it. They feel the full, unfiltered weight of existence. It's not the jester's problem anymore. It's entirely 100% their own. And here we are, at the core paradox of this whole parable. Real creative power, it's not found in guidance or support. It's found in the feeling of being radically, completely abandoned. The moment you realize no one is coming to save you is the exact moment you get the power to save yourself, to become an architect of your own reality, an architect of the abyss.
This all leads to a state the text calls the sovereignty of the child. And this brings Nietzsche's idea of metamorphosis full circle.
You go from the burdened camel to the defiant lion and finally to the child. The child represents a new beginning, a sacred yes to life. And in this state of self-mastery, these huge concepts of good and evil are no longer oppressive laws. They become like toys for you to play with and understand on your own terms.
So as the jester just dissolves into the mist, he gives his final and most important gift, his absence. He doesn't look back, because real friendship, he implies, demands total independence. His disappearance is the ultimate lesson. So you see, the story doesn't really have an ending. It concludes with the start of an infinite, self-directed journey for every single companion who is brave enough to listen to that final, silent command. It's a perpetual beginning.
What this commandment really does is completely reevaluate all values. It transforms morality from an external command, thou shalt, into an internal state of being, an I am. Law is no longer something you follow, it's something you are.
So, what does this new way of being actually look like? Well, it's like walking the tightrope of life with no safety net below. It's holding the balance between your own light and your own darkness, instead of trying to get rid of one. It's becoming your own law. And maybe most importantly, that faint echo of the jester's laughter, it's now your own, ringing out across the peaks of your own private heaven.
And this is the final image we're left with. The mountain is empty, sure, there's no master. But it's not desolate. It's buzzing with the energy of individuals who are no longer seeking, but are now creating. That silence isn't a silence of loss. It's a silence of infinite potential.
In the end, the goal was never to follow the jester. It was to become him and then to overcome him. The parable's final, powerful thought is this: the teacher has to die so that the true creator, the overman, can finally be born. And so the question it kind of leaves hanging in the air for all of us is, what jester in your own heart do you need to slay?